Michael Schumacher's victory in Australia last year kick-started the charge to his third world title. Now Red 1 is flying high in Oz. His world's turned upside down in practice. And then the best Australian qualifying session of his life. The top man's hit the ground running.
And Schumacher has done it!
Wow.
0.6 of a second faster is well nigh unbelievable.
Albert Park, Melbourne is a magnificent sight on the first race day of the year. We're counting down to the start of F1 2001.
G'day from the ITV studio. It is great to have you with us. Very well done for getting up or staying up. Nothing beats seeing the action live. Bit more cloud cover here today, but it's still very warm indeed. Temperature around about 22 degrees. All week in Melbourne they've been making a real fuss of Murray Walker as he starts his last commentary year. Murray's going to pop in and join us along with his old mucker Sir Sterling Moss, but already in situ in the studio. Tony Jardine, all set for another year. Hi Tony. And Mark Blundell. New face, but very well known in Formula One circus, ex-F1 driver. Now, Mark, we've seen Michael Schumacher there taking great chunks out of Häkkönen's pole time last year. Does the speed they've been going here surprise you?
It does surprise you by how much, but you know, you're going to get that. Reduced aerodynamics, so less drag, and a tyre war. But nearly 4 seconds faster than last year, and this is only the first race. I'm gobsmacked.
Yeah. What do the drivers feel? They fancy that?
Oh, they love speed, obviously, that's what it's all about. But the most important factor is balance. You know, you can have as much horsepower, you can have as much speed at top end, but you need to get the power on the ground.
I'll tell you, one team have got the power on the ground very quickly. I mean, forget Ferrari, McLaren and Jordan.
We've had this austerity programme, you know, they were gutted last year if they dropped so far down, and they've really worked hard, kept very, very quiet, a lot of investment, a lot of change of staff, and Eddie says what he wants to do is do what he did 2 years ago, surprise everybody. So far they've done that. We've got to see if the car in race trim is as good as in qualifying, where it's fourth with Frentzen. Great start.
OK, our first job, though, is to bring you right up to date with all the changes that have taken place in the world of Formula One since Michael Schumacher won in Malaysia back in October. A tyre war is actually already starting. We've got a special feature coming on that in a few minutes' time. Lots of other changes, but continuity at the very top.
Ferrari are this year's leaders of the pack and finally have the cherished #1 on the car. They've worked hard on development over the winter, and world champion Michael Schumacher has been vocal about how good the car feels. Rubens Barrichello joins him for another season and is keen to add to his first race win in Germany last year.
McLaren are on the offensive for the first time since '98 after losing both titles to Ferrari last year. Melbourne marks the team's 100th race with Mercedes power, whilst Häkkinen lines up for his 6th consecutive season as teammate to David Coulthard, the longest-running driver pairing in Formula One.
Williams were best of the rest last year and will be disappointed if they don't pick up a win this year. Ralf Schumacher stays for another season and is joined by Indy 500 winner Juan Pablo Montoya. There is tension between the two drivers, but they both say they'll do their talking on the track.
Benetton line up 4th for one final hurrah before the outfit becomes Renault in 2002. Giancarlo Fisichella starts the season in a positive frame of mind, but reliability could prove an issue in the early part of the year. Williams refugee Jensen Button should give Fisichella a run for his money.
British American Racing start the season in 5th place under one of 2 Honda engine teams. Frenchman Olivier Panis, who last raced for Prost in 1999, is back in Formula One after a year testing for McLaren. He will be pushing his teammate Jacques Villeneuve.
Jordan slipped right down to 6th last year, but are hoping the Works Honda engine will power them back to winning ways. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has been putting in some impressive times over the winter, as has teammate Jarno Trulli. The battle between the two Honda-powered teams could prove one of the highlights of the year.
Experienced Dutchman Jos Verstappen starts his 2nd season with Arrows, who have yet to score their first Grand Prix victory. He's joined by former test driver Enrique Bernoldi. The team will be using the old Peugeot engines, rebadged as AsiaTech.
Sauber have taken a bold step this year with 2 of the youngest drivers in Formula One. Nick Heidfeld moves from Prost to become the experienced member of the team. Newcomer Kimi Raikkonen from Finland will be under very close scrutiny. He makes the giant leap from Formula Renault into Formula One with just 23 single-seater race starts under his belt.
Jaguar has slid down the grid to 9th place. Former test driver Luciano Berti is promoted to a race seat, replacing Johnny Herbert, who's now testing for Arrows. Former world champion Niki Lauda comes in as senior manager of the programme, while Eddie Irvine is once again the #1 driver.
Minardi have taken on 19-year-old Fernando Alonso, the third youngest man ever to race in Formula One. He joins Tarso Marquez, who last drove for the team in '97. Australian millionaire Paul Stoddart stepped in just weeks ago to save the little Italian team.
Prost start at the tail end of the grid this year, but their customer Ferrari engines are a real asset. And over the pre-season testing period, Jean Alesi set a new track record at Barcelona. Alongside him is Gaston Mazzacani, who comes with 1 year's experience from Minardi.
Winter form not reflected in qualifying for Prost, Alesi and Mazzacani well down the back. But Tony, headline in the morning papers, shoe shine.
Yeah, I mean, he's always shining. I mean, his helmet, I think, was a bit shiny upside down because we had on all the papers around the world with pictures of Shuey upside down. But he's just showing that over the winter, despite having the pin out of his leg, despite starting late, he was holidaying in Norway with his family. I mean, he's on it straight away. He came back testing late, and he's proved to everybody, I'm still hungry, because some of the teams were hoping that he wouldn't be after 3 championships. Maybe he'd go off the boil slightly. Has he? After accidents, after big disputes over his helmet, there is the guy going out there 3 laps at a time to take provisional pole, as we just saw there.
That was setting the pace early on. What about your old team, McLaren, though, Coulthard and Hakkinen? Are you disappointed the way they've gone so far?
A little bit disappointed, yeah, but I know those guys are working very, very hard. They will be back. You know, don't underestimate McLaren, Mercedes-Benz. They're a strong team. Ron Dennis is at the head. He's going to make sure that they're going to get back to winning and get back to producing the results they need in qualifying. And that's where a little bit short already at this start of the season. But, you know, they will be at the front.
Rubens Barrichello was up on the podium here last year when he made his Ferrari debut, and he seems to fancy his current Ferrari strongly.
I think everybody thinks Rubino is just such a wonderful guy, so popular. Everybody loved it when he won in Germany last year. A lot of people around the world watching were crying with him on the podium. It was just sensational. But he is such a smooth driver. But, you know, he just got the pole position there just by 1,000th of a second from Michael Schumacher. And then out comes Schumacher and does it. I think Marky knows how that feels.
That's a big deal for a driver. I mean, it's demoralising. Just think about it.
But this time was absolutely astonishing compared to Hakkinen's pole last year.
Yeah, it was. But what we're also going to remember, the guy's coming back from a big crash, and this was a car that the Ferrari mechanics spent all night rebuilding. It had been over 3 times, rebuilt it, put it all back together. And to go that fast, nearly 4 seconds, is absolutely amazing. Stunning.
Jordan have been very low-key in the winter. Eddie said no Christmas party for the workforce after last year's season.
No puddings.
Nay, nothing.
They're all too fat.
Nay, nothing. But Heinz Harald Frentzen, who goes well in Melbourne, is in good shape for the race.
Well, this is great. You've got to watch this because he got up to 4th place with this lap here. They had a very outlandish car last year. They really pushed out the boat. This year it's a combination of fast, yes, but also a bit of reliability. Whispers in the pit lane that this was almost a perfect lap. And afterwards, Frentzen said, look, I've had to keep quiet until we're into competition. He said, this is a great car.
He said it's the best Jordan he's certainly ever driven. We saw in our opening sequence Michael Schumacher's world turning upside down, and Luciano Berti, the Brazilian, had a moment yesterday in the Jaguar.
It was a big moment as well. I mean, big impact, but the guy was a passenger. There's nothing he did wrong there. Either a tyre let go or suspension. You see the right front unloads, the rear left dips down. He's going to hit the wall in the biggest possible way. Not
his fault, but as a driver in a car like that, does it shake your confidence a bit?
I think it may with him. He doesn't have that much experience. I mean, somebody like Schumacher, no, he's been on his head, he's fine. But Berti, pressure's on his shoulders already.
Sure, let's hear what Luciano Berti himself made of that accident. Here he is chatting to Louise Goodman.
Talk us through the accident. What did you actually feel?
Just hitting the wall. It happened so quick. 1 minute I was turning to the corner, the next minute I was crashing to the wall. So until I saw the replay, to be honest, I wasn't sure what had happened. But looking at the replay, you can see that something was wrong. The front wheel is in the air, so it means that the rear suspension or the rear wheel broke. But after that, you're just a passenger and just wait until the car stops, and that's it really.
Are the team going to be able to fix the car okay for tomorrow?
I think so. I think the tub itself is okay. So, you know, I think they have enough spares to fix it, so it should be okay.
They did fix it okay. Bertie 18th in warm-up, Irvine up there in 8th, and Hakkinen and Coulthard quickest in the warm-up session this morning. Jaguars all set to go here in Melbourne, where they made their Formula 1 debut last year. Okay, let's find out the other drivers' reactions, shall we? Starting with the odds-on favourite, the Red Mist Man.
There's only one first position and we have that, so we're quite happy on that. But I always keep saying in the past that qualifying is one thing, racing is another thing, and we have to show tomorrow we are reliable and we're in the same position.
I lost one run because I went wide, example, in the first corner because the car was just not handling correctly. So we need to have some serious talk and serious work to be done for tomorrow.
The car suits me better than last year's. I'm feeling good about it, and you know, I've already tested with full tanks. Goes well.
Even from 6th place, if I can score a couple of points, and that will have me ahead of the last 2 years. So obviously my sights adjust considering the grid position.
Fastest Michelin runner, a stonking final lap from you.
I mean, it was a great lap. I think we got the best out of it today, although it's not quite enough from what we want to achieve, that's obvious, but from what we have started yesterday and what we've seen yesterday, I think we can be pretty happy about it.
It's the first race, it's always, you know, a lot of people, there's a lot of failures normally, so hopefully we can be one of the people that are at the end of the race, and I think we can, so it's quite positive, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I'm pretty happy and confident that we have a good car this year, much better car than last year. And I'm comfortable that we are having a very good season this year and closer up to McLaren and Ferrari.
I think we can have a good race. A bit disappointed for qualifying where we start because the car had a lot more potential, but we'll see what happens.
Starting in third position, I think it's a good place, one sense, to start this Grand Prix because you started behind the pole position, and that's the most important. So you have a more or less clean side of the circuit, so that's a good thing.
They haven't really used the maximum performance out of the car yet because there's no reason why they shouldn't be close to us because we know they are good and we know they will fight back. So I don't feel now too secure and feel that's it. I know very well how quickly things can change.
It's top of the grid though. Tony, take us through it.
Well, first Aussie pole for Schumacher in 10 attempts and an all-red front row for the first time since Monza last year. And Hakkinen talking about a very messy qualifying session, but prefers to be the hunter now. Frentzen very happy with his car, as he said. Ralf Schumacher, top of the Michelin runners there. Coulthard alongside him in 6th place. Messy for him as well, all over the place on the grass. Truly disappointed with 7. Villeneuve the first, the BARs, and as expected, pushing him hard, Olivier Panis. Highfield making his swap now across to Sauber from Prost. He's happy with that. Grand Prix rookie Montoya there, who was blocked by traffic, but he'll be up alongside Irvine. Räikkönen there, he's done another rookie. He wanted to be in the top 10, but he hasn't quite made that, just outside. Verstappen, Button having maximum aggravation at the moment. The car not going right at all, but still ahead of his teammate Fisichella. Important psychologically here. Alonso, 4th of Grand Prix rookies there alongside Mazzucani. Luciano Berti suffering after accident, and Tarso Marquez only on the grid after dispensation from the organisers when Paul Stoddart went to see them outside the 107% rule.
Thanks very much indeed, Tony. Now let's just check out, shall we, the ramifications of that tyre war last year at Bridgestone. Clear run. They always buzz us over the studio here in Melbourne. Get used to that. And now Michelin are back in the fray. Speeds, as we've been saying, have increased dramatically. 18 cars, would you believe, qualifying quicker than Häkkinen's pole time last year. And those cars also have a very different look. Here's Louise.
Speeds which the tyres will produce this season, the FIA has introduced a number of changes to the design regulations aimed at slowing the cars down. The front wing will be 50mm higher, and the teams are restricted to running a maximum of 4 elements on the rear wing. The overall effect will be a significant reduction in downforce. There are also some new safety rules. Each wheel must now have 2 tethers to prevent it flying off in case of an accident, and padding has been added inside the chassis here to protect the driver's legs. The crash tests are also much tougher this year, resulting in a car that's around 20% stronger than last season.
We came into this weekend talking about a tyre war, so what have we learned so far? Well, it looks as though it's first blood to Bridgestone. They have the edge in qualifying, and it looks as though they have the edge in the race as well. The tyre war has made the cars 4 seconds a lap faster than last year, and this trend looks set to develop as newer and softer rubber comes on stream. Now, the Michelin tyres performed reasonably well in qualifying. Ralf Schumacher 5th, just 0.8 of a second off the pole. Not bad for a first effort, but where they are struggling is in race conditions. Look at this. This is a front tyre that's come off one of the Williamses. You can see this graining here, lots of rubber coming off the tyre. That's high tyre wear issue, and they're going to have a problem with that this afternoon, much worse than the Bridgestones, so they will struggle. It's going to be a tricky race for the Williams boys, and they'll have to watch the left front tyre particularly carefully through the long right-hand corners. Ideally, drivers want to do a one-stop race today, with as long a first stint as possible. The longer you stay out, the more places you pick up. Last year, Ralf Schumacher went from 11th place on the grid to 3rd by stopping on lap 38 of 53. But if a fast car is caught in traffic, watch out for a switch to a two-stop strategy, as successfully attempted by Rubens Barrichello last year en route to 2nd place.
If the noise of the cars around Albert Park wasn't enough, these fellas turn up the old volume a bit as well. The F1 fight of the Royal Australian Air Force Roulettes. Spectacular sight, and they really put on a great show here in Melbourne over a 4-day period. And that's what's making the racket above our studio here at trackside. Mark, what about the speeds that they're going at the moment, the drivers? I mean, do the drivers themselves want to go faster and faster and faster?
It's just natural that you always want to go faster and faster as a driver, but I say the most important factor is not just terminal speed, not acceleration. It's all about getting that compromise between power, speed, balance of a race car. It's no good having as much speed as the next guy is. He may be 20 kilometres slower than you, but he may be 20 kilometres quicker through the corners, and that's what it's all about. It's putting that lap together.
Tony, just briefly, will the authorities say this is too fast, we're going to have to do something else to slow it down again?
They'll be monitoring the situation very carefully, because Max Mosley, I mean, he has a remit to make sure that speeds don't become too excessive. And therefore, he has said in the past, if they get too quick, I'll think about putting another groove in the tyres. If that doesn't work, we'll think about going to an all-treaded tyre, like a road car. And he will certainly be watching very, very carefully.
OK, I know lots of you out there like a flutter on Formula One. Here are the very latest odds from the bookmakers. Ladbrokes, Schumacher evens to retain his championship and odds on to win today. And really, they see just 3 drivers in with a chance of being champion of F1 2001. And Jensen and Eddie Irvine, the British drivers, right down at the bottom, 80 and 150 to 1. OK, then very shortly we're going to be joined by 2 living motorsport legends and a young man who might just reach that status a little bit down the line. We're going to be keeping a close eye on him on and off the track.
That new Formula One magazine. There's a great interview with Michael Schumacher.
Yeah, but Formula One magazine reckons Montoya will go even faster.
Yeah, I like it. And there's a great piece on Jensen Button's 21st birthday party. Yeah, baby!
But we've now got the lowdown on Eddie Jordan by Mrs. Jordan.
And what about old Red 5 and F1's ultimate playboy, eh?
Nigel Mansell and Eddie Irvine writing for Formula One magazine.
Yeah, I know, so go, 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 go! Just get me a copy. First issue, on sale now.
Now then, it really doesn't seem like a year ago when we welcomed Jensen Button to the world of Formula One. Jensen went on to be voted Rookie of the Year. He finished 8th for Williams and scored 12 points. Today, it's his first race in a 2-year spell at Benetton. And we caught up with Jensen testing and as he packed his bags for the new season.
I've got my suit, which might come in useful. Cuddly Joy. It's my lucky mascot that my girlfriend got me for my birthday, so I better take it with us or get shot.
The whole package is a bit behind what we expected at this time of the season. But then again, it is quite difficult coming in with Michelin being new in Formula One and Renault coming back in. It was always going to be difficult. But I think it's more long-term we're looking anyway, so I think towards the end of the season it's going to be a lot better, and hopefully we'll get some good results then. Toilet track. I think we're all sorted now. Yeah, fitness is great actually. I've always hated fitness. I've always done it because I've had to. And when I got told I had to go to Lanzarote on the 2nd of January for 5 or 6 days training, I was like, whoa, no chance. I'm not going to last that long. But it was really, really good fun, and we were training about 5.5, 6 hours a day, and it was. I really enjoyed it. It's quite unusual. Passport. 5 minutes back. Don't be late.
How are you getting on with Giancarlo?
Good.
You're going to be revving each other up this year?
I hope so, yeah. I hope so. I think that's what pushes you forward anyway. So hopefully we'll be pushing each other really, really hard. Just hope he's not too quick, because he's pretty quick. Quicker than I thought he was. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. It is going to be tough in Melbourne. I mean, nobody knows what to expect in Melbourne because I haven't driven the circuit on Michelin's. So it is difficult to know. But from what I've seen, as I said, I think they're doing a great job. And the tyres are looking good. It's just, we'll wait and see, I don't know. Cool. See you in Melbourne then.
Just come through the door of our studio here, Sir Sterling Moss and Murray Walker. Welcome both. Do you have any cuddly toys in your motors when you drove round?
No, I didn't actually. There wasn't that much room. No, I always carried a little horseshoe.
Really?
But, yeah. But the trouble with doing that, the trouble is that if you haven't got it with you and anything goes wrong, then you know why. So it's not really a good idea.
Murray, what do you make of Jensen Button? It could be a testing year for him this
Well, I've always said, Jim, that no matter what happens to Jensen this year and next year, it's good experience. He started off magnificently last year. Being at the bottom of the heap this year, which he is at the present moment, isn't going to do him any harm at all. It'll harden him to the realities of Formula One, which he may have missed a bit last year. And when he goes to another team, he's going to be even stronger.
Michael Schumacher, we've spoken about a lot here today. And I just wanted to show you one or two little pictures of Michael Schumacher's victory ceremony last year. And just keep your eye on the plate that Michael Schumacher is getting from Steve Bracks, the Premier of Victoria. Schumacher raises that above his head. Now, how'd you get that then?
Jim, this was one of the 3 most emotional experiences of my life, and the other one has been today. It was at the Grand Prix ball. Ron Walker, who is the boss of it all, invited me to come. And when I got there, Prince Michael was there, and I was called up onto the dais to receive this, which is an exact replica of the trophy that Michael Schumacher and the others before him have had. To say that I was overwhelmed is putting it very mildly indeed.
Can you believe that this is going to be the last year?
I think it's terrible. I'm hoping he'll change his mind again. We can't do without it. But if he doesn't change his mind, you've got to come to the races. I mean, this week you've got to.
Well,
you have to have it.
I think it'll be difficult to keep me away.
That's good.
When this is my 53rd year of commentating, and I was at the first British Grand Prix in 1949 for the BBC in those days. And when you've had a lifetime of it, you're not going to break away from it.
It's fair to say, Murray, I think there aren't too many people in Melbourne that don't know you're here. I mean, from the moment you stepped off that plane at the crack of dawn, you got the old red carpet reception there, and a very nice reception committee, I'd have to say. That's you at the Grand Ball, where you received this fantastic trophy. And, well, I didn't walk around with you anywhere because you got mobbed wherever you go around the circuit, and this morning for you, great moment.
This was the other most emotional experience of my life, because so many times, Jim, I've looked at the Grand Prix Drivers' Parade and thought how marvellous it was, and talked about it. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that I would be part of it, but they put me into the last car today, and the reception I got was absolutely overwhelming. Marvellous.
There'll never be another Murray Walker.
No, there won't. That's but you may be starting at the back of the Grand Prix today, you know. That'll really shake you up.
Can you remember when the Grand Prix circuit first came to Australia?
Well, yes, I remember when I was first here for the Australian.
You won it. You got a stand out the back.
1956, yeah, not a very good stand, actually. It's rather on the straight.
Well, it might be a bit rickety by now, I should think.
No, this was 56, and we ran the other way around on the park as a park.
Right.
And, of course, you couldn't run the modern Formula One car on it anymore. I mean, it was too narrow, and but it was fabulous. I mean, 100,000 people came out here. I mean, this is the centre of sport of the world, let's face it.
They say that if a couple of flies are crawling up the wall in Melbourne, there'll be 100,000 people cheering them on. And it's not much of an exaggeration.
Were there a few misgivings about Australia?
Yeah, I think in a slightly superior way. We thought, well, Australia's on the other side of the world, you know. They won't really know how to do it. But when we got here, it was absolutely mind-blowing because they'd formed committees and sent them to all the other Grand Prix to find out how to do it, and then they'd done it better. And nobody does it better than Australia, and very, very few people get within a whisker of doing it as well.
OK, Murray, let's just tune into your older memory bank, shall we, and look back at your Aussie memories, starting with Adelaide in '86.
It was fantastic. Adelaide was brilliant. The organisation and administration was superb, and the enthusiasm was overwhelming. Australia immediately became the #1 Grand Prix, and the racing was sensational. Who'll ever forget 1986? And look at that! Out that colossally, that's Mansell! 1989 was one of the wettest races ever. Alain Prost withdrew after one lap, and after Ayrton Senna hit Martin Brundle, he was out of the race. Senna has only got 3 wheels! My goodness, Senna is out of the Australian Grand Prix. In retrospect, 1993 was a sad occasion, for it was the great Ayrton Senna's last Grand Prix win after starting from a record 65th pole position. And Ayrton Senna wins in Australia to the delight of his fans. 1994, victory at last for Nigel Mansell. And like Senna's the year before, it was to be his last in Formula One. And Nigel Mansell wins in Australia. Fantastic! But what 1994 will always be remembered for was the dramatic and contentious collision between Michael Schumacher's Benetton and Damon Hill's Williams, which resolved the World Championship in the Germans' favour. Was it deliberate? Judge for yourself. In 1996, the race moved to Melbourne. Albert Park had been transformed into an inspired location, with Australia now the first Grand Prix of the year rather than the last. A superb battle between Damon Hill and his Williams teammate, new boy Jacques Villeneuve, and a second successive win down under for Damon. Then in 1998, a truly dramatic conclusion, when McLaren's David Coulthard, about to win for the second year running, yielded to teammate Mika Häkkinen almost on the line. What an outraged political uproar that caused. And now the Ferrari years, 1999, Eddie Irvine's first win, and last year when Michael Schumacher started the World Championship as he meant to finish, by winning. Schumacher wins, fist out, victory salute. 16 years of drama and pure joy, with great racing at great circuits in a great country.
You're expecting more...
Nothing biased about me, Jim.
No, I know. You're expecting more champagne. The tourist board like that, by the way. You're always going to trip here. More champagne for Schumacher today, Murray? What are you expecting?
Well, it's easy to say Schumacher, Jim. If he does, it'll be his 5th win in succession, and only Nigel Mansell, I think, has done that in the past. Yes, you've got to say Schumacher, but everything can happen in Formula One. Like I say, it normally does. I wouldn't mind putting a few bob on Frentzen.
Really? Sterling?
Yeah, Frenson's a good outsider. I don't think he's going to win, in truth. I really don't. I think Rubens is in there as well, and he's going quickly. Mika's all fired up, but will he make it? I don't know. This is what's good about this race. We've come to find out things. How good is Montoya? He went like hell this morning. Sure. You know, and so there's so many things we're going to hear more about, I think.
We've heard the cars going round on their installation lap with just over 20 minutes to go to the start, and I know, Murray, you want to get away up there very quickly. Don't worry, you'll be there. You'll be in good shape up there. And there is Schumacher just giving the Ferrari a little blowout before the start of the Australian Grand Prix. 22 degrees and rising here. The start just over 20 minutes away. Murray, I mean, you've had some old week, but now you've got to do the job, old chap.
My worry up to now, Jim, has been being able to do the work. I'm supposed to be getting around talking to people. So many Australians have been talking to me that I haven't been able to talk to the people who matter. But I shall try.
I'm sure.
As Rubens Barrichello says, I will do my best.
He will do his best not to disappoint you, I think, which you said. Final thoughts, really, from you, Sterling, as a real pal of this fellow. It is going to be his last year.
I really am very, very disappointed. I think he has given more to motor racing than anybody else, along with Ferrari, in my mind. I think what he's done for motor racing is why there's so many people follow it, because you can't not be infected by him. That's the point.
You've got to go and go to work now. Thanks for joining us, Murray. And
well done.
Look forward to throwing over to you very, very shortly.
Take your ashtray.
No, but that's excess baggage. I'm not taking it home for you, all right? Well, it's a fantastic event, this one here in Melbourne, Albert Park, just about my favourite venue. I think they're going to get a total of 400,000 people through the gates here over the 4-day period, and right down there, in the middle of all the hubbub, we have Louise Goodman.
Hi. Hello, Jim. Atmosphere definitely hotting up down here. Can't say the same for the weather. It's a bit overcast today, but I guess you can't have everything in life. I couldn't think of a better place to start the Grand Prix season than here in Melbourne. It really is a fabulous race. The organisation is second to none. The facilities are great. We're always made to feel very, very welcome at this race. Melbourne loves Formula One as well. Fantastic support here today. About 130,000 people expected for the Grand Prix. A lot of them are going to be cheering for Ferrari. You can probably see over in the grandstands a few red caps and T-shirts. Minardi very popular this year as well, of course. They've just been bought by Paul Stoddard, an Australian, so they've been adopted as the Aussie team. As always, though, it's Jordan who are attracting the celebrity fans. Ross Kemp, popular face to many ITV viewers. Now, you've been to Barcelona, you've been to Silverstone as well. This is a very long way to come for a Grand Prix, though.
Absolutely worth it. It's got a wonderful atmosphere, this place. Everyone's having a great time, and it's worth the trip.
As always, you're cheering for Jordan. You're a big Jordan fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I love Eddie Jordan very, very much. He's a wonderful man that's always got time for everybody. I think they're the best partying team, without a doubt, and I think we'll have a good old time tonight, whether we win or we come second or third.
Is that why Eddie attracts the celebrity vote? Because they're the party team?
Oh, definitely, without a doubt, but that's afterwards. Now, it's all very serious down there. The atmosphere's building up, and as I said, it's worth this journey just to be lapping up this wonderful atmosphere.
Now, very briefly, I understand that you may well be doing a bit more than supporting the Jordan team this year.
Yeah, it's sort of up in the air at the moment, but I'm hoping to be donning one of those gold fire retardant suits and maybe getting involved with the team. But as I said earlier, we don't definitely know whether that's going to happen or not, but I'm working to try and get my way in there somehow.
Well, if it does, we'll be there to record it. For the moment, though, back to you, Jim.
Thanks very much indeed, Lou. Now you see him, now you don't. Quick.
So what we've morphed into. There's no moss on this chair.
No. Quick change, not bad. Quick change, and you're back again. Talking about the Jordans down there, as we have already, there's another team that we should just run the focus over, and that's Jaguar. You weren't with us last year, Mark, but they arrived this great blaze of publicity and then really fell flat on their faces. But a guy called Bobby Rahal is now trying to pull things around, and you know this fella pretty well.
I know Bobby very well. We've driven in kart against him, and previous winner in Indy 500 and many things. But don't underestimate Bobby Rahal. He's a very sharp businessman. But it's not only Bobby just at Jaguar now. We've got Niki Lauda coming into the field. I mean, we've got some very powerful names.
I mean, drivers taking over teams hasn't actually had a 100% success rate, is fair to say.
Not yet. Bobby at Jaguar, Alain Prost at his own team there, but I think it will happen. Eventually, I think those guys will get it right, and there's some very sharp minds at the head of those companies.
Yeah, there's Niki Lauda chatting to Eddie Irvine here in Australia. Do you think that the Jaguar were a bit embarrassed, perhaps, about that blaze of publicity when they came in? And then
Don't you mean Jaguar?
Oh, yeah.
That's what it morphed into last year.
Jaguar, then.
They were embarrassed. They've got to re-establish their reputation. We all know that. And Bobby Rahal is a no-nonsense guy. He knows what he's doing. But he's already had run-ins in the team. He made some sackings at the beginning of top engineers and mechanics. That upset Eddie Irvine. Irv shoots from the lip as usual, and he criticised the team for that. He was rebuked by the team. And arriving here, he said the team was slow. So he's had a slap. He's had another slap again. But, he is in a sort of twilight of his career, according to Bobby Rahal. So he's got to deliver now, and he's got to be dedicated.
Yeah. OK, thanks to you both. Let's have a word with Michael Schumacher, shall we? Pole sitter, last year's winner, reigning world champion, going for his 5th victory in a row. That sequence started back in Monza in the autumn. Here he is then talking one-to-one with Murray.
I first talked to you at Spa in 1991, 11 years ago. Is the fire still burning?
Oh, very much. I mean, you know, the simple words I should use for that is I'm simply born to race, and it's a natural ability I have to put the car on the limit and enjoy it. I want to compete, I want to race, and I don't know how long. Naturally, one day it will be over, but I see that day being far away for the moment.
Now, well, it's 5 years between your second World Championship for Benetton and your first World Championship for Ferrari. Now, 5 years in your young life is a long time. Do you feel the investment was worth it, all that waiting to get there again?
I don't think you should look at it saying it's worth it or not worth it. Simply say that it was my best life, my best years of my life, honestly, because even though there were tough moments, but the good thing is if you come out of tough moments and you have good moments and finally deliver a championship, it's simply the best. And no, I don't want to miss that time.
Now, years ago, after Senna had won his third World Championship, I was sitting talking to him and I said, you've got all the money in the world, you've won umpteen races, you've won championships. What is the motivation now? And he said, bigger numbers. Is that your motivation?
No, I wouldn't say that, because the numbers don't change very much. It's simply, you know, well, when I'm sitting in the car, when I drive, when I put it on the limit, it's what I love to do, and I enjoy. And I mean, what is better to do? There's nothing else which I could enjoy more than driving a racing car. And I'm too young to stop and retire and sit in the chair and smoke a cigar and drink wine at home. That's too early for me.
But it's early days in this year's season. We haven't even had the first race yet, and it looks pretty obvious that, again, it's going to be between you and McLaren. But what are the prospects that you see in terms of competition from the other teams?
Obviously, you've seen Jordan being quite competitive today, although you never know how much fuel quantity they run around with. But at the end of the day, I think it will be a championship fight between the two teams you mentioned, as last year. But the teams will be closer, and I've said many times that we will have to, or we will find out more teams being able to score victories.
Do you see more of a threat from Coulthard this year than you did last year?
We'll find out.
I think the answer to that is probably a negative. No worries so far for Ferrari or for Michael Schumacher. It's been a stroll in the park. Let's wander down the grid now, shall we, with Martin Brundle.
Thank you, Jim. Hello, everybody at home. Congratulations if you stayed up or got up early this morning to see this first Grand Prix of the season. Here we are on the grid. Michael Schumacher's just cruised on very, very late. Did very few laps this morning in the warm-up and had a problem with a brake disc bell, apparently. So a little bit of drama. A lot of unknowns on this grid today. I don't believe a Ferrari has finished a complete and true race distance this year, and nor has a McLaren, in my view. So if any of these two teams win the Grand Prix today, I think it'll be a first for those cars over the line and a complete race distance. But anyway, Michael's here. Poor old boy, just over £500,000 a week he earns, and he's come all the way around the other side of the world to put a show on for you. I talked about those unknowns because there's 5 drivers on this grid that have never started a Grand Prix in a normal Grand Prix grid situation. And a lot of those youngsters, if you watch my grid walk from time to time, you know that I often have a job finding drivers because they're off to the gents. They preload so heavily on their with the water, but this year is going to be very embarrassing. We've got so many young kids. It's going to be all the parents finishing off the potty training, I think. Some of these guys are so young. But I don't know if I can just squeeze in on Heinz Harald there, who's had an excellent performance in qualifying. Fourth on the grid, talking to his Bridgestone engineer at the moment. And of course, tyres are a big issue today. New Bridgestones, new. Patrick, can you have a quick word with us about your man, Patrick Head of the Williams team, of course, your man, Ralph there, in 6th position, pretty spectacular qualifying, and how are those tyres going to last today?
Well, I think it's easier to tell you after the race, but all the predictions say that they should be no problem.
Okay, and reliability, because some of these guys in front of you might not be too smart on that.
Well, you never know. No team really knows how well they're going to be off until you've got through the first race. So if you are overconfident about your reliability, you're probably going to get a bad surprise.
All right, when Heinz Haralde was driving for you a few years back, he flew off the road with no brakes towards the end of the race while leading in one of your cars. Is brakes a drama here?
Always far too hard on brakes.
Oh, was it? So it's no problem today then with brakes?
Our predictions are that they're okay, but with the data you get in practice never truly represents the race conditions. So we'll be monitoring the brake wear during the race.
Okay, and one stop?
It'll be 1 or 2.
Okay, thanks, Patrick. Let's have a wander down, see who else we can find. So you've got Ralf Schumacher then in 6th place. I wanted to speak to Eddie Jordan. He's had a stonking weekend so far with Frentzen, and Trudy looked like he was really going to get the job done as well. So Jordan and the Hondas, and there's a big scrap between the two Honda teams. And let's see if we can interrupt. Oh, there he's with... yes, that's going to be rude, I think, to interrupt on that one. I think we'll save that for another day, because I'm sure Edmund is going to have plenty to say when I'm sure Edmund's going to have plenty to say at other times. I'm not going to go down there because all the drivers are now in the car. We're really, really late on the grid. Let me just see if I can catch Coulthard down at the front here. Is DC anywhere to be seen? Yes, he is. Okay, here we go. Let's have a final word from DC. DC, sorry to interrupt you, old buddy. How's it going? How's it looking?
I think the basic pace of the car, balance-wise, this morning was quite good, but obviously I'm out of grid position here, really, from qualifying, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to leapfrog the guys in front.
Can you win this race from here?
With reliability issues, you have the first race, yes. In a straight race, I would say unlikely.
Well, you think the Ferrari's going to scamper away?
I think that they're looking pretty good through practice. They've been setting the pace, and we've been playing catch-up, and they've got a clean track, and I've got BMW and a Jordan in front of me.
There's a few million British mates there watching and wishing you good luck. Thanks a lot. Back to you in the studio.
Yes, good luck to David, winner of our first ITV race here back in 1997. Fantastic spectacle here at this Australian Grand Prix, I have to say, is my personal favourite. Melbourne, a lovely city, Albert Park, a very special venue indeed, and the sport always comes up fresh after the winter break. The race itself always develops and delivers huge dollops of drama. Applause for the anthem, and we are all set for the off in Australia.